Honorable Dr. Balwinder Singh, Joint Director, CDEC Mohali, Honorable Deans, Campus Directors, Distinguished Professors, and faculty members. It is indeed a great pleasure for me to be part of this very first faculty development program which we are organizing after my assuming the office. And it has been made possible by the support which we have received from CDEC for organization of this. And I thank them at the outset for choosing DSEU and helping us in conduct of this program. So DSEU is a university with a different vision and different commitment, and from the next academic session, under the leadership of our Professor Praveer Chitre, Head Department of AI, we are coming up with a slogan that learn to prompt. नहीं आ रहा है सब? Mouse. Learn to prompt and prompt to learn is the new slogan which we will be having in the next academic session to provide the training to all students and including the faculty members in the use of AI tools. But here I am not to speak on the vision and mission which university will be having and working on. We will be having a Center for Emerging Technologies at Bhai Parmanand DSEU campus in the same line as we established the Center for Converging Technologies at University of Rajasthan in 2006. But participating in this FDP, I am giving a presentation here which is for me like a personal journey. My entire exposure of last 4 and 5 decades, and since I am deeply involved in all the developments which are taking place in many branches of science, technology, engineering and mathematics, and rather being a teacher of physics, I am more a student of science, technology, engineering and mathematics. And based on my own understanding, I will be sharing my views and concern here with you. And I have used this slide PowerPoint presentation earlier also in many occasions. And I am giving this PowerPoint presentation as an assignment to all the participants of the FDP also, because there are more than 120 slides and hardly I would be able to speak on 4 and 5. And generally it's my problem, individual problem, that I don't know what I will speak at the beginning, because I can speak something which is not even covered in these slides. But why these are given as an assignment to you, so that if you have any queries regarding any point expressed in any one of the slides, you are free to contact me and we can have a discussion, and I always love discussion. I have been, the prelude is given, and maybe this prelude you may not be familiar with the commands, maybe you are seeing for the first time, but these commands are very important. Let me read. From negative mass to negative entropy, from deep learning to deep physics, the fusion of exotic matter and exotic minds may redefine intelligence itself. So now today we are here to learn about AI and AI applications. But I am showing you that whatever you would be learning in this FDP will have a shelf life of less than 5 years. and everything will be changing. So I am here to give a warning. You have to make a beginning to learn, because only Newton has said that I could see further because I was standing on shoulders of other giants. So unless you learn whatever you would be learning here in this FDP, you would not be able to follow what is going to happen, and the world is going to dramatically change, and nobody can predict the future, what will be there. But everyone who has some understanding of the emerging technologies, emerging science, emerging research can be sure that the shelf life of knowledge would be less than 5 years in coming years of time. And that's why FDP, that's why continuous learning is very much essential. That is what I have also experienced. I was very happy when I was a school student and I was told in my school that you have to read and study for 25 years, and then for 25 years you will have to work, and then for the rest 25 years you have to move to maybe Uttarakhand, the religious place, Vanprastha ashram, and the final next 25 years you have to get detached. So that kind of Indian philosophy I was told in school, but that was the most wrong information given. My experience had been that since I joined this school, I am learning, and it's very important to learn in modern times, even to survive, to live a life, to have some satisfaction, to have some joy. So that's the thing which we wish to do. We cannot do the things in the same manner as we used to do in past, and that is what we have experienced in our lifetime, and you may have also experienced in your own lifetime. So another quote which is there: the universe built minds from atoms, and now minds may rebuild the universe. But which mind? Your mind, my mind, or which one mind? That's a question which one need to consider. From Majorana qubits to neutrino trained AI, maybe you have not heard of these words, but these words will be dominating in coming years of time. Majorana qubits, and you already know the success story one, which the Microsoft has demonstrated using Majorana qubit. And to neutrino trained AI, the marriage of exotic particles and exotic cognition might birth machines that do not just compute reality, they may redefine the reality itself, and that can be the power. For the first time, Majorana fermions offer more than better qubits. They could birth AI that leverages the fabric of space-time itself, and even the basic and such abstract notion as the notion of space and time can also change. So that's just prelude to this talk. If you go through this presentation entire, then only you will be able to understand meaning of each and every statement written here. And since I will not be covering the entire presentation, so the prelude is very important. I have told you that if you wish to understand, and these are not very easy sentences to understand, which I have written. So this requires further exploration and further learning and further effort. But much more information in concise manner I have tried, because as we do in PowerPoint presentation in this slide. But let me make it clear, this is a disclaimer that whatever I am presenting here is not my original contribution. I have been following the developments happening all over the world, and I have taken inputs from all the research published in different journals and all the information which has been made accessible to me by various experts and through interactions with them. So nothing original in it. It's not my original contribution. And many slides may not also be very original, and maybe I have just taken from some source without giving credit also, but it is just a presentation for motivating faculty members and students to pursue a path. And that's why in this presentation also I use my understanding of various fields and disciplines which I have described, primarily the science, technology, engineering and mathematics, and most of the time, okay, so this is This way? Back? Back. So science, technology, engineering, mathematics. Okay. If you just touch it, then it will spoil. So I have to learn it. Now I am using this system, but okay. Okay. So science, technology, engineering, and mathematics is one. The newly emerging technologies, which I often talk about, the converging technologies, philosophies, linguistic, anthropology, neuroscience, definitely AI and psychology, and my exposure to high energy physics and cosmology and some parts of geology and life science would also figure in this presentation. So I am trying to, because as he has pointed out, NEP is very important. The boundaries of disciplines which we have created, and so these are different disciplines, but any talk which you can give and which you will be able to give as a faculty member in future will not involve one discipline only. Forget. That kind of classification will not be practically useful in coming period of time. So first thing is we have to learn about NEP also in deeper, with deeper meanings and deeper belief that multidisciplinarity, interdisciplinarity, or the approach, the entire approach of learning or education or intelligence is based on that your learning, your knowledge, your capacity, your skills would enable you to solve problems for the society, for the human beings, for the world, for other species, maybe for the entire universe. So that's the approach. And any problem doesn't pertain or give a respect or command to any boundaries which we have created in development of our knowledge and understanding. So that's one thing. A fundamental truth is that whatever you see with a lens, and lens here means a theoretical framework. So if you change the theoretical framework, everything is changed. There is no permanent worldview in the world that every faculty member should realize. Worldviews keep on changing, and this is the fundamental truth, that we don't see the world as it is. We see the world through the lens through which we look at it, and that the lens itself says how we interpret the world. So as you know that when you believe that free fall of an apple is due to gravitational force, it's one lens which is called Newtonian mechanics, and now we can continue to believe based on our vision of understanding of free fall of an apple given by Newton. But we do know that more than 100 years back, the entire structure, entire theoretical framework given by Newton has been proved wrong experimentally and in science. So we have to move beyond. So that explanation is no longer valid. If you go through the newer theories of gravitation, then you find that there was some explanation. The problem in learning is that every time learning requires de-learning, and people don't like de-learning because they think that, like money, the learning is also an asset, but it is different. Money, I consider, is one of the stupidest invention by mankind. There are many such inventions, but one of the stupidest invention is the money. Human beings invented it, and it is ruling the human beings. It has an extra constitutional power, you can say, even whether not well defined in any structure, but that is there. We have to live with it. Maybe in future we will move in a direction, in the way the technologies are progressing, we will not be using money in future. That's my prediction, which I made 10-15 years ago, and maybe you would witness that time that there is no bank balance, no money required to live on this planet in coming years of time. So the great father of cybernetics has said that scientific discovery consists in the interpretation for our own convenience of a system of existence which has been made with no eye to our convenience at all. The world is complex, and that's the Norbert Wiener, the father of cybernetics, realized long back. Nature is also complex, and in this 21st century, we are for the first time realizing that nothing is simple. Sada Jivan Uch Vichar, that's not practically now useful because nothing is simple. Everything is complex, and we are living in a complex universe and we are dealing with complexity all the time, and that's why this is the fundamental truth, the basis of my presentation. So everything, however, there are certain common aspects. Everything has been changing, and the change, as we say, is the most common law. And as you know, maybe if you have gone through some course in cosmology or physics, then you may be knowing it. And understanding mathematics, philosophy, and physics is very, very essential for any discipline which you study in my own understanding. I could grow and I could understand something only because if you understand philosophy, mathematics, and physics, these are two fundamental. So this is the era of emergence and fundamentals, objects and all. But there was a time when there was no time, and then all of a sudden the Big Bang happened and the universe emerged, and then many things have happened. Maybe I will skip this, but the universe is changing and nothing is static. So there will be no permanent dynamics which will be there in coming years of time also. It would be keep on changing. So we were not there till long journey of the universe, and now we used to think, and there are many philosophy which make you believe that you are very important. God have created you because with some purpose. But the entire theory of universe says there is no purpose in the universe. It is just evolving. It is just changing. It is purposeless. Many philosophers also subscribe to that view. And we have to understand that this is happening. Once upon a time, life was not possible, and then we came very late and very recent. If you consider it from the point of view of the age of the universe, then you will find that you are a very recent phenomenon. But when you compare and when you look in much different manner, then you will find, as I have said in this hall maybe earlier also, that if you compare yourself with the Samrat Akbar, then you will find that you are much better placed. You have much better convenience, you have much better support, you have much better health care, you have much better facilities than the Samrat was having in his own time. So that's the rule of change. And I will skip many of the slides, but you can go through because I have paucity of time, that we as a hominid have certain advantage and comparison to other species. And one advantage is the biological design, all described here. And another most important advantage may be the brain size or the brain as it has evolved. So maybe the earlier apps were not having that level of brain, and definitely not having that level of brain as we have today, and so on. So we have been changing, and because of time I am not going to, otherwise I like speaking on each of this point, but since time is limited, so I am speaking. But then came, after long process, so we emerged millions of years ago as a Homo sapien, and then we evolved in this nation, India, nowhere else in the world, planet. Such philosophies were conceived in the period between 800 BCE to 200 BCE. Even the Greek philosophies came after. That we started to philosophizing things. A lot of different concepts were proposed. So there are many philosophies, 12 Indian philosophies generally which I speak of, but I will skip, and also many achievements which we had in the past. And this is very important to realize that the understanding of the philosophy came from this particular nation. And so I do believe that after the EI, one of the great scholar has said that software has eaten everything and AI has eaten software. So now who will eat AI? That's the big question. It's a tradition, it's a trend which is always happening, that something will come and dominate. Today, the most hype word is definitely artificial intelligence. And you do also know that it was laughed at in 1955. But now we know. So, who will eat AI? And AI will be eaten. You can watch the YouTube presentation just by searching this. Who eats AI? Maybe it will lead to you. And it is widely believed by the scholars of present time that philosophy will eat AI. So new philosophies will emerge. So we have great responsibility. This is the land of birth of philosophy, and therefore new philosophies should emerge from India. India should not have only a bigger role in artificial intelligence and other things which I will be coming to, but I skip these things and come to this picture which you like very much. That now, just for a few minutes, I would also try to go backward in time, and maybe what was the our first understanding, knowledge. So it is very difficult to come to a uniform conclusion, but maybe as a biological species when we evolved. So maybe when we realize that we are an intelligent species, or when we have spoken the first word, maybe at that time we were not knowing mathematics. Mathematics, as you know, is very, and why it's most important, because mathematics is something which is so abstract that it does not require nature for even its own existence. And AI is a manifestation or a branch of mathematics, and so is the computer science. But mathematics can be conceived even in a universe which is not a universe in the real sense, which we call physical universe. So the physicists are primarily mathematicians, but they don't like something, because mathematics, in physics, anything can be established or by proven wrong by the experiments. But mathematics, no experiments are there. Purely theoretical, purely abstract, purely fundamental, purely important. And all our growth of intelligence is related to the growth of mathematics. And mathematics cannot be undermined, therefore, in any manner, if you are doing something without understanding mathematics. And that's why in all my presentation, whenever I interact with the life science student also, I pay emphasis to this point, that now even life science, you cannot proceed in the life science research without knowing the mathematics. So maybe the very first word, that fire, and if I have spoken fire, the ancient human beings, then it was mapped to something, and homomorphism or mapping. Maybe we are not knowing what is set theory, what is a mapping, but we started. Learning is mathematical, and I often say all knowledge is mathematical. It's abstract. Knowledge is not something which is like an atom, a piece of gold. It's not a materialistic thing. It's something which does not require. So all knowledge is mathematical, because you know, one can explain that no knowledge can be explained without using a language. And language is a branch of mathematics, which Noam Chomsky proved much later, but Panini realized much earlier, in before Common Era period, that language is a branch of mathematics. And that's very simple. All of you may be having a training in computer programming, and therefore you know that it has been made very crystal clear in computer programming that you have some syntax, but to each non-terminal or terminal, that we have to associate a meaning, semantics. So language is primarily in computer programming syntax plus semantics. Natural language processing will be talked about here, but that's very complex also because pragmatics is also involved. So we developed a perfect understanding of what is a language much better. Now, what are the reasons not known? That Panini could come up with a very beautiful grammar in before common era, but the word could not grow and understand the language in the manner it should have done. Had Panini and the followers of the Panini contributed significantly and paid their attention to it, then to the other worldly problems, the entire history would have been different. But now with the advent of these machines, which you know, and computing, which is also a branch of mathematics, and a new word that by using, we have been changing the word. But when in 1955, John McCarthy coined this term, which you will be learning about and talking about mostly in this FDP, then why he coined this term? Just to get a project. Submitting a research project, submitting a research idea is not a bad thing. So he said how to make the project attractive. So there should be something that every funding agency should believe that this is a great idea. And maybe this was just before my birth, 1955, I was born in 1960, but he coined a word that is called now the most hyped word, artificial intelligence. Now there may be debate and many scholars have debated it whether it's a proper term, artificial intelligence or not, because all these things which have been introduced in past cannot have well specified semantics as we have in computer programming language. A function in a C programming language may have one semantics, but not in the language. Today, even if you try to learn AI or anything like that, then you will find that there are different views. We don't understand the meaning of being self, who you are, as well as we don't understand the meaning of intelligence. We don't understand the meaning of consciousness. We don't understand many such terms which are very, very fundamental and crucial, not at this time, but have been in all time. And why? Because all of these are outcome of mathematical adventure and trying to draw some mathematical meaning out of something. They are not physical. If anything which is physical, and that's why my title, if you will remind you, from exotic matter to exotic minds. Maybe today we don't understand, tomorrow we will define and we will have much better understanding. Because what is mind? Thou, to a biologist, it's a biophysical system. But what is mind is a very question which many philosophers could not answer properly and were all the time confused. And even if I ask you the question, what is mind, may not be clear to you. Whether mind means intelligence, there is one-to-one relationship, or mind means consciousness, or mind and brain are different, or what kind of design. So these questions today you may not like as a scientist or a researcher or an engineer, but these questions will be the most important questions which would be addressed in coming period of time. So be aware of it. That's something generally in this modern 21st century, people do not like philosophy. And I give my most of the presentation advocating and behalf of all which Modi ji like I call development. And development has been taking place. So there are only two kinds of changes. You can classify change also, either evaluation or development. Both have different characteristics, different features, different things happening. But development you feel proud of. And why? Because we think we have developed. Evolution so far has been not in our hands. But now the story will not be there, because I say that the mantras are common. The change is the common law. The law of inertia is common, that every change is opposed by the society and the players. The next is the equilibrium. Ultimately the change is accepted, and the final is the convergence, that in the equilibrium, the beauty of the equilibrium is the convergence of things. So like web technologies have brought in many changes which can be listed, and the ultimate achievement after the equilibrium of web technologies is the convergence. It is the disappearance of the boundaries of the world, and the world has become one, and therefore the way the technologies are evolving, the world should have effectively become one. But you also know that there is a law of inertia. So all these laws are operating in conflict with each other. So the technologies and scientists and thinkers are trying to converge the world into one global government, one global vision, one global functioning, one global approach, all the humanities, and not only the humanities, let we have all biological species and all sentient beings united. But at the same time there are backlashes, and so you know that as we as an engineer, thinker or scientist try to make world one, there are forces in the society which will oppose it and work in different ways. So you say make in America, make in China, make in India. So you pay slogans like that. We wish to have our own identity. Though we forget that scientifically, as I have said earlier, maybe in this hall also, that we all come from a single African mother, and we all are African. It's a scientifically proven fact. But this has been changing. You are living in this information age, very happy. You are consuming information and more misinformation. And if you analyze your diet, so doctors will suggest that you should have less sugar, less salt consumption. But as a doctor, I will say that you should have less misinformation. It's very difficult to separate information and misinformation. Sach or jhoot mein, the biggest problem is that there is a very little difference sometimes. As they look, every thing which is false also looks like convincing, maybe more attractive, maybe more charming, and so we get entrapped. So the misinformation is the biggest problem, which you would realize in discussions here also. But my presentation is to point you that this period is now, what is happening? Maybe automatically somebody has hacked my presentation or what? Okay, yes. So iske pehle, this I have already spoken, that change, inertia, equilibrium and convergence. Try to analyze any discipline, any development which you follow in this manner. And this particular period, what kind of changes would be happening, that is of your major concern. Because the way the technology is evolving, I can assure you that many of you would be living for 200 years and some of you may be living for 500 years. And so all our classical notions of living a life of for 25 years. So as I have said earlier, that I was not fool. If somebody is making you feel that after 65 years of age, you will get a retirement from here and then you will be free to do whatever you want to do, that is not going to happen. The world is changing rapidly in a much different manner. So this is the period of concern. So my PowerPoint was what would be happening in this coming period onwards from 2030, because the knowledge till 2030, whatever we have, may become obsolete in this period, what is called symbiotic age, autonomy age, or maybe take singularity. If you wish to learn further, you can also read Ray Kurzweil's work, The Singularity is Near. and now the new book, Singularity is Nearer. So this is the common vision which I subscribe, and which I think that every academician, every engineer, every scientist should understand. So maybe this is a wrong slide. So this is just to prove that convergence has happened because of the web technologies. Here are the example: the emergence of BRICS, emergence of the new nations who have capacity to deliver the business from outside through business process outsourcing, all indicates the same thing, that as we move further it will. But today's time is the time, and there has been no such time, and every day this can be said that there has been no such time. And why? Because I say that there has never been a time more pregnant with possibilities than today. So we are not living in a comfortable world. We are living in an ever fast changing world, and possibilities open up every day. And to get best out of the possibility, I am not a motivational speaker, but I will say that to get best out of the possibilities is to be active every day, to be worried every day. It's not a comfortable situation. If you are assured that even in a hospital you would be given all sort of enjoyment and fun, you would not like to leave. And that kind of situation, a comfort situation, we all the time aspire for and we dream for, and we would be happy to live in hospital also if everything rest, the comfort, the pleasure, the joy, the fun is ensured. But that's not there. There has never been a time more pregnant with possibilities, and if there has never been a time more pregnant with possibilities, there has never been a time when so much was lying on your shoulders, when so much responsibility has been assigned to you, when so much work the society and the future expects from the intelligent species like that. And this was for first time pointed out that there would be such a time where there were so much possibilities would be there. In 1955, AI was coined. In 1959, Richard P. Feynman made a statement that there is plenty of room at the bottom. And he said that since there is a plenty of room at the bottom, in the future, it would be possible. In 1959, no compact disk, no memory stick, no solid state drive, nothing, no technology, even no computers were used by personally by even Richard P. Feynman. So in that period, he said that there is plenty of time, so that there is a plenty of room at bottom, and so in future we will be able to write the entire Encyclopedia Britannica on head of a small pin. So when I visited the library and first time came across the Encyclopedia Britannica, I was very worried because there were 7 almirahs in my college occupying only Encyclopedia Britannica, the different volumes. And now you know that you need not worry. You carry in your pocket, and at any moment of time, anything which is on Encyclopedia Britannica, you can get it. Just what to do? Remember the slogan of DSEU: learn to prompt and prompt to learn. So if you follow this, then the life would be easy. So it's a very, now it has been realized. He said it in 1959. And why he said it? Based on his understanding of physics, not understanding of IT and AI. Maybe Richard P. Feynman may have heard about John McCarthy's coining artificial intelligence, but I don't think that he has gone through that. But what he examined, that the diamond and graphite both are made of carbon atoms, but they have different characteristics, as Kamna ji will tell you. She has an expertise in chemical sciences also. So these are different. Then the natural question is, how many such different configurations can be made? This is the story of the emergence which Feynman is pointing out. One thing is fundamental: what nature is made of. Chemistry, when I attended the class, I become happy that everything is made of atoms. There are large number of molecules, as you know, and as we find, but we were happy that there are only few atoms and everything can be made out of those atoms. So then if you understand the characteristics of atoms, maybe you understand everything. But that is not true, what Feynman pointed out. Because diamond is also made of carbon atoms and graphite is also made of carbon atoms. Their properties are quite different, altogether different. And which means what you are made of is not what defines you. This would also be a slogan in future. You are a biological species. You are a human being. But what you are made of, maybe you will say, okay, I have a liver, kidney, a brain, a heart and something, and in that manner also sometimes a collection of all biological organs, a large number of cells, and there may be communicating. Now you know that you think, and I have posted once right on Facebook, many people could not understand it, but it was that your cells do not recognize you, what you call you as you, self, which you define. The cells do not recognize. Even if a COVID virus enters your body, a cell may be knowing about its presence, but cannot communicate to you. So Feynman could foresee that what the universe is made of, or similarly what any material is made of, so that there is no restriction. So he said there is a plenty of possibilities. In future, many more materials will become, and molecular manufacturing would be more. What is the difference between diamond and graphite? If you ask Kamna ji to deliver, she will speak it in the terms of chemistry people. They will say in diamond there is sp3 hybridization, and because of sp3 hybridization there is a tetragonal structure, and because of the tetragonal structure it has maybe many things can be explained based on that. And in graphite there is something different called sp2 hybridization. These are all technical terms. Unless you attend physics or chemistry classes, you cannot appreciate, but it's a layer like structure, and graphite can be used in a principle. And why it is important for technologies? Because materials are important for technology. If you understand materials, then you understand their characteristics, then you can make devices and elements, and then you can engineer the products and services. Anyway, so he said in future it would be possible, and we realized it, and now it is possible. Buckyball awarded Nobel Prize letters, and it's the carbon 60, and there are many. I will skip all those things, but it has changed the skill. Like now is the era, the kind of technological changes is that now it's the era of changing everything and changing the paradigm of engineering. Engineering used to be done in this manner. You study materials, you study their properties, you make devices and elements, and you engineer something which is useful, which is product, or which you call appliance or gadget or whatever you call, but you engineer something very interesting thing. So that's called the original paradigm of engineering, based on which all our technical institutions are delivering the courses. Most of the courses, as he has pointed out, are based on this paradigm only. But now there is a prospect of reversing this paradigm, because now we have capacity because of the high kind of computation which would be talked about here. Large amount of data which was unimaginable when I first started the computational work. Then it was very difficult to even foresee that in future petabyte kind of data can be handled, because most of the program, and this is not me only, as I generally quote, that Bill Gates has once said in 1980 that in my opinion, it is on record, you can check it on Google, in my opinion 640 kilobyte of RAM would be sufficient for any purpose. Now Bill Gates must be laughing on this statement, because everything which 640 kilobyte RAM, most of your images and pictures are much more than that. So that's a laughable. So you can make conjecture, you can make predict the future, but Bill Gates, while working in that area, could not make a correct picture. And it is similar to what Watson has done earlier, that working for IBM, he made a prediction that I foresee that there will be a requirement of, in 1945, this statement was made, or 1949, I am not sure, but 45 or 49, in popular mechanic, he said, I think there is a requirement of 5 computers in the world. And now we live in a world where there is a requirement of 5 computing machines per person. And he thought that for the billions of people, 5 billions or more even that time, or maybe 7 billions, I don't know the population at that time, but for the billions of people now we need billions and trillions, and maybe in future we may not be needing in this manner and something else would be there. So this is the important thing, that reverse engineering is possible now because now we have AI, and now the idea of entire material science, chemistry and physics is that if I want to solve a problem, what kind of devices I need, and to make those devices what kind of materials I need, and to make those materials by using quantum theory of solids and using simulation and everything, what kind of processing I should do so that I can have those materials. So that's called reverse engineering, not starting from materials. Entire semiconductor revolution, electronics people may be also there here. It starts with the silicon germanium later, but initially with diode walls and triode wall. But you know that semiconductor characteristics make the semiconductor electronics visible. That was the old way of doing things. Now the new way of thinking, that if I wish to discover a new kind of science, a new kind of engineering, a new kind of technology, I should do it in your manner. First conceive what should be there. So this is the time which is not only pregnant with all possibilities. This is the time which is pregnant with all kind of imagination. Never in the history of humankind that level of imagination was permitted. Now the technologies are enabling us, are great enabler, that we can have any funny dream and we can make it true. And like for fun, people are using these AI tools to making beautiful picture. And somebody, I was seeing on YouTube a video where Jannat kaisi hogi, somebody. So based on Islamic teaching, the Jannat was picturized. And we know that because of our poor understanding in the past, whenever these things were conceived, the Jannat or heaven or Swarg. So what we have in Jannat, when AI makes the Jannat, you have the plants, fruit plants, you have greenery, you have lighting, you have maybe angels or paris or hoor, whatever you call. So these are our all fascinations with the life, that these are the best thing in the life. So if you give AI to it, AI will also give you a Jannat like that. Why the Jannat should be of that type? Why not something much different than that? That is the present time. We can make heaven out of the universe, but that heaven definitely would be much different. So open up your minds, a lot of work to do in this direction. And nanomaterials already, that gold is not golden. This is my favorite slide, so I can't stop myself on speaking on it. Most of the ladies believe gold is golden in color, but Kamna ji will agree that depending upon the size of gold nanoparticle, the colors are different. Even the old people were making use of it because they were known that by grinding the gold and making finer particles, you can achieve different colors. So these paintings all are made of gold color, but different colors are there, and these are available in ancient paintings. Okay, so that's the situation. So nanoscience I will skip, but it's very important. New materials are coming up, new kinds of computing technologies are coming up. Quantum dot is a new semiconductor, you can say. You can have DNA as a new storage medium, or DNA as a computer also. You can do the complete computing analysis through it, and you can use carbon nanotube as demonstrated in 2013 by this. So things are changing, and I will skip this. We are now in this modern era, and this era, in my understanding, many branches of knowledge which have become most important and which may have not been, will be paid here attentions to in the course. You would be paying primarily attention to, AI, machine learning maybe here, but these are also important, quantum computing and this. And the quantum computing, when I say that my major portion of the talk which I intended, but since I am running out of the time, maybe I will not be able to make justice to my title. I would just show you some slides. So that's the scenario which is we are living with it. And it would also be changing very fast because of these 6 technologies which I am mentioning. And if you don't know about this technology, you don't know about the world. You can communicate to your student. Every student must be told that if you understand these words, now we don't live in a society where when I was in school, I used to say, आपको geography आनी चाहिए, social science आनी चाहिए, political science आनी चाहिए, economics आना चाहिए, business आना चाहिए. We are living in a time where everyone, an intelligent species, if he wishes to claim, must know about all these things and what is happening through their collaborations, cooperations, and contributions by great people. So this is the something. Earlier I used to call NBIC, now I have made it 6 instead of 4 technologies, 6 technologies. And on all these 6, we wish to have a program in Bhai Parmana. In coming years of time, 3 years I have more as a Vice Chancellor, so I would like to assure that Bhai Parmanand would be known that Param Anand can only be achieved if you use these technologies to change and shape the future. So these technologies will be shaping the future. So be aware, if you don't know about any term, don't worry, because I have already said, learn to prompt and prompt to learn. So you can learn about any of this. All information is available. But you have to be very cautious. Every day ChatGPT and DeepSeek apologize to me in the sense that I give something which is scientific and domain of understanding, and it does not give wrong, it always gives wrong answer. Sometimes it omits, because the biggest problem during the discussion before this presentation also we had, the biggest problem is the bias. If the data is corrupt, if the knowledge is corrupt, if you follow a book and that book has a wrong teachings, then wrong thing will be achieved. Mathematics has nothing to do about nature. So mathematics doesn't care about nature. So remember, and processing is nature, mathematics. And so processing doesn't care most of the time whether it would have some drastic negative impact on the society or not. So many misinformations would be created also by the new technology tools we have to be worried about. So now I will say that just briefly, whatever time I am permitted to, I generally exceed the time, but since I am Vice Chancellor, so I can take liberty and take more time. Otherwise, wherever I am invited, I have to, by this time, they will ask you, okay, we are now over the time, and so I shall stop and things like that. So this is the things. These are the matters which you do not know. You are not finding, none of them you are not finding. I am not saying not here. You are not finding, you are not knowing about these kinds of matter which we call exotic matter. In fact, people do believe that we know much more about universe, but when you read cosmology, then you know that about 96% of the universe, which consists of dark matter and dark energy, we don't know anything scientifically. We know nothing. We know that they are playing an important role in the dynamics as observed by different telescopes. And now remember, we are able to understand and challenge even the established scientific theories also because of the progress. You know that Big Bang theory is in great danger. So just like Newtonian theory explaining free fall of an apple, the Big Bang theory explaining the evolution of the universe, now in the last 2 years it has been, we are agreeing that it cannot answer the observed universe as observed through James Webb telescope. And now the data which we get through the James Webb telescope, no human being could analyze it. We can analyze the James Webb telescope only data by using artificial intelligence. So this is the time, whatever science you study or you wish to contribute in, you cannot do without computation. So in another slide, which I don't have here, but I generally say that earlier when we started learning of science, engineering and technology, then we were happy, because in science there are only two things: scientific theory and scientific experiment. Each theory which you propose, you are free, but it must agree with experiment, an experiment and theory. So it's a relationship between two, just like a boy and girl. But now what has happened in modern time? That instead of being a theory and experiment relationship in science, it has become a triangular story. And what one the third man? When third man comes between a boy and girl, then you know that the real story begins. Then you start your TV. Okay, something will now happen, because third man is there. If there is just love story, a husband and wife happily married, or a boy and girl enjoying life, then you don't feel happy as a spectator, because as a spectator we want that third man should be there. इसलिए जानते हैं आप हमेशा कि in all movies which you watch, villain has a much bigger role to play. Without him, there is no storyline which we can conceive of. If you make even a story, then nobody would watch it, because it is not pleasing as per our current level of knowledge. So वो third man कौन है यहाँ पर, which is disturbing the theory and experiment, and which is also talking to the theory and which is also talking to the experiment. And since आप ये diversion तभी होगा when there is a direct communication between theory and experiment, that we have done for many years, and that third man is the computational, or whatever you call name you can give. So it's a triangular story. Theory cannot be done without computation. Experiment cannot be done without computation. So it's not direct theory and experiment relationship, a triangular story which we are witnessing in last part of 20th and modern 21st century. And that's why FDP in AI is very, very important, because it is just like as important as having a meal. Having information has also become as important as having a meal, because you consume information. Now this is a home assignment to all FDP members. How much data you consume every day if we codified it into data. So it's a home assignment. Work on it. How much data you are consuming. Maybe you are taking track of how much calorie you are consuming, but that's a different thing. My question is how much data you are consuming every day. And यहाँ पर क्या है? The one who is fat should be regarded much better. डाइटिंग में तो क्या होता है, जो कम खाता है उसकी प्रशंसा होती है, और इस मॉडर्न वर्ल्ड में इंफॉर्मेशन में क्या है, जो ज़्यादा, जो सोए हुआ है, दिन भर पड़ा हुआ है, उठ ही नहीं रहा है, कुछ कर ही नहीं रहा है, इज नॉट कंज्यूमिंग एनी डेटा, तो उसको लगेगा मैं बहुत स्लिम ट्रिम हूँ, बट बीइंग स्लिम ट्रिम इज नॉट गुड in modern time if the diet of data is concerned. So that is what I am talking about. These are the materials. You have to learn physics to understand what. Each has its own physics, and this material would be defining the future of the exotic minds or exotic intelligence or the future of intelligence. So बहुत सारे लोगों को पता नहीं होता है. मैं कई बार इंटरव्यू लेने भी जाता हूँ तो लोग कुछ आते हैं रट करके आ जाते हैं, तो फैकल्टी मेंबर्स भी. So once I asked a question कि भी how many types of neural networks you know? So people generally come up with the answer, because this would be addressed here, artificial neural network, ANN. But if you just ask, and you can do it, prompt to learn. So prompt to learn, and you will find that 12 different kinds of 13 different kinds or 15, as you will get based on the understanding of that particular AI database, key neural networks are there. It is not the story of ANN. And in some lectures I do say that my name begins with A, so the story is beginning with ANN. And the second, this is now just advertisement, I am not explaining, but SNN is there. And if you don't understand SNN, you shall not be working in Bhai Parmanand AI department. So that's another thing that you should change. So learn what is SNN. how it is doing. So there are many, means anything which you comes to your mind, maybe sometimes you can find, okay, this kind of analysis is there. This is CNN is not no longer a news agency. CNN is a neural network. Now what does CNN stands for? That you have to explore. If we think ourselves confined that anything which I have learned in IIT by doing my BTech and MTech, you cannot survive in academics, research, or even in life with that knowledge. All knowledge has self-life, and in most of these cases. So why does it matter? Because we will be having much different kind of computing in future, and it will enable us even to use this. These are the particles which you may have not heard of. I have done research on exotic leptons in 1980s and 90s, and so I know as a physics student, and this presentation is only possible because I have my exposure to different branches of science. But if you ask any computer scientist even in IIT, sorry, not IIT, then they will not be knowing these nubs because they have not been given exposure. It's not their fault. Anybody can understand anything, but it's not. These would be the keyword: Majorana fermion. One of my university, Rajasthan University, former university, great student from that department of physics there, Professor Jinendra Jain, who has given and done enormously important work on composite fermion, and based on which now you find that Microsoft has demonstrated the capability of using Majorana particle in developing new kinds of computing strategies. But maybe you are not aware, even the FDPs are important. FDP tells you that forget about the silicon and germanium. We don't need them. We do not need even very large scale integration, VLSI, which is it. We need something much more different. That particular quantum chip has not been designed by VLSI. So things come, things go. We are not using many things like pagers, and so we are not using many gadgets and appliances which were made in the past by our predecessors, and so that will happen. So learn about these words. Learning is not easy. They follow much more complex mathematical dynamics than the things which you know. This is the story of science. The complexity increases. So dynamics of an ordinary fermion may be easy, and Dirac has answered how a fermion behaves in 1920s and 30s. So we know it now for more than 100 years. And this, however, most of the students do not know even of physics because we have to keep our course limited, and so we don't teach. But these are kinds of classification you may have not heard, that a fermion can be Majorana fermion, a fermion can be Weil fermion, a fermion can be Dirac fermion. So Dirac fermion is well understood, and electron is a Dirac fermion. So even if you call the neutrino or proton and so on. Now, but neutrino can be Dirac neutrino or Majorana neutrino also. I have done research work on Majorana neutrino in certain physical experiments, not for computing purpose, so I know about it. But these will be the keywords. These neutrinos, how many neutrinos are passing per second through your body? That number you can again prompt to learn. How many neutrinos are passing through my body and you are not noticing? The universe is much more complex. So many particles passing through your body, and your body is transparent to them and you can't do anything to them. And the neutrinos which do not interact with anything, so you call sterile neutrinos. And these sterile neutrinos, the future technologies will be based on. So go through my slides. You may ask a question wherever I know, and things are changing so fast. Sometimes my knowledge would also be very backward because one has to keep updated to the latest development. These are the things which I say: Majorana qubits versus classical qubits. The classical qubit system has also been put in place. Majorana qubit has also been put in place, and now understand it and what are the features. I will not explain because of paucity of time. You can go through that and learn about it and ask questions also, and We have demonstrated Marana modes in nanowires in 2018 and 2020. So you know that we have success stories to also take. There are problems also. And why are you here? Why are you on this world? To solve these hurdles, to solve these problems. That is your purpose. Purpose of life is to get rid of the hurdles. So all the scenarios in I will not explain because time is limited. Otherwise, I would have enjoyed. So a new kind of computing, because now there are two. Earlier we used to think that our brain is a computer, but now we know that our brain is not a computer in that sense. The computer which in 50s, 60s and 70s we had a meaning of computer. It's much more different than that. And so a new kind of computing which is being ignored by many engineering students and which is much more important than the conventional computing which you all know and in which you all have expertise is called neuromorphic computing, and understand how to emulate neuro and synapses on hardware already demonstrated also. Again I am saying I am not talking about anything which is pure imagination. In these slides anything which has been incorporated has been tried or tested in some manner to some level in the experiments and in the research labs of the developed nations, not in India. India is lagging much behind. That's why it's our major concern. CDEC is showing interest in boosting it up, that we need to boost up. You can't just improve on something which has already been done by the others in past. We have to get leadership in this. And so, like the parallel processing is very important. He has not mentioned the CDEC person, but I know because I am involved and even in discussions also that the Param was based on the concept of parallel processing. It was a supercomputer, not in the same sense the kind of the supercomputer which United States or Japan and other countries were having. It was a different kind of supercomputer itself, because at that time parallel processing came in, and even I did some computation using parallel processing, and I know that parallel processing is very rarely taught in computer science engineering subjects because people don't know and don't want to deal with it. Anyway, so this is what neuromorphic computing, biological brain, mimicking the biological brain. So doing the same thing. So now the brain has evolved. It is not our development contribution. We have not. However, we will be augmenting our brain in coming future. How to augment brain? How to make yourself more intelligent? How to augment brain? So this is a very important question. So the two way to augment brain, we are already augmented. One way is very simple, just I have said, learn to prompt and prompt to learn. So you get, as and when any information is required, you get that knowledge, your information, that techniques, how to do it and how to make it and all such things by augmented intelligence. So we have to learn how to augment human intelligence by using what we call machine intelligence. A friendship between human being and machine. Machine as a servant or an employee of human being. That's kind of picture which people say. So it will not work exactly in the same manner. Because remember that when you are interacting with the machine, whatever kind of prompt or etc. you may be using, but machine is also learning about you. And that's the biggest danger which people say in the interaction with the machine is, and because machine may not be kind. पिताजी को आप कुछ भी कह दें, हो सकता है still the next day he would be as kind as he was earlier. But the machine remembers you. And in one of the recent conference I have made another prediction that in future meditation would not be required to understand about self. What would be required to understand about self? आपको अपने बारे में जानकारी चाहिए तो किससे पूछे? भाई से पूछे, पिताजी से पूछे, वाइफ से पूछे, स्पाउस से पूछे, किससे पूछे? You will have to ask it to the machine intelligence, because that will tell you who you are really. Because you may be faking yourself to yourself. आप अपने आप को भी धोखा दे रहे हो कि मैं इतना खूबसूरत हूँ, मशीन बता देगी नहीं है, on this parameters, this index, you are not as beautiful as you want to be. आप कहेंगे मैं बहुत दयालु हूँ, the machine intelligence, I have watched your activities for 2 years now, and I conclude you are not a kind person, or you are only kind when you are gaining something and you are not generous and things like that. So machines are here to play a role. Don't hate AI. AI is neither to hate or not to love you. But remember that you would not be able to live without AI in future. So AI is there. You have to augment and establish a relationship with it. And to establish that relationship, you would have to learn many things, how better you can be. But that is the augmenting the brain by using external resources, which are servers, cloud servers located at much distance places, operated by somebody else. Now, when you use those resources, then there is a danger also, and that has been demonstrated in recent time, that those people who are controlling those resources are not good people. The problem of the society from always has been that the people have greed. The people have thoughts which are negative thoughts, and that's the problem humanity has been facing from long period of time. If there is no greed, if there is no race, if there is no bias, if there is no discriminatory thinking, then there would have not been many problems which have happened in the past. So remember, so that's the fact, that if you rely too much on an AI, cloud-based AI, which is being controlled by Mark Zuckerberg, you may have a good faith that Mark Zuckerberg is not Mahatma Gandhi, and Mark Zuckerberg definitely is not Gautam Buddha. And since Mark Zuckerberg is not Gautam Buddha will not say anything when he is not supposed to say. But when he is not, so he may manipulate you. And there is a war. And as I have said, that since we have created something called capital, something which has no real existence, if in the entire world, all of the same time, say nuclear bomb get exploded and the world get destroyed by nuclear bomb, and you anyhow, because Delhi people have long probability to survive because they live in similar conditions even now, so they have probability to survive. So even if you survive, and if you survive, remember the entire administration, politics, supply, everything has been disrupted, and then you will find that the money in your bank account has no meaning. So that's the negative way of saying it. I am saying it in positive manner also. It will happen that money will have no meaning. But that's the money makes the greed, and greed makes the humanity or the nature not sustainable. Professor of sustainability science will make it clear that we need to eliminate, the first thing is not to eliminate the waste, is to eliminate the money from the functioning of the society. But my wife will not like, because she is a professor of economic administration, so she will not like. But anyway, sometimes you get ideas only based on your background. So another way is that, can I add more neurons to my mind? Can I make neurons from stem cells and then can add? Can I make my brain look like this, very big, huge brain, and augment it? Or can, because our brain functions like in cognition, can I add 50 sensors? Right now I have only 5 senses. Can I add more 50 sensors into my brain and augment it? तो अभी आपको लगेगा ये सब बेवकूफ़ाना बात है. The Vice Chancellor is making fun, but I am saying this would become reality. We will be achieving in both the manners, in coexistence with the machine intelligence at the same time, because to have something of our own, because we have like belief, long standing belief in possessing something, may. We can't get away from may. And how can may be improved? May cannot be improved by enhancing the age of superannuation. May can be improved by enhancing the capacity of your brain, and that capacity of the brain would be updated, augmented, and to what level I don't know, but much larger, in the sense that common saying, I am in most of the lecture I am saying that people like you and me in 2035 would be treated like tribals if we do not go for those solutions of augmenting our brain by using the biological means, as well as augmenting our brain by using this thing. So this is the slides which will educate you. This is the SNN which is featuring here, understand what is SNN and how the SNN, the spiked neural networks, the brain, the spikes are important in the brain and working of the brain also, and we want to adopt that approach which our brain is having. Recently our understanding of our own brain has increased, and that's why any computing science department cannot work in isolation without understanding neuroscience. Elon Musk has clearly said it. If you don't know neuroscience, if you don't know brain science, you are not a computer scientist. You are pretending to be a computer scientist. Remember, you may not be. So this is the things which are going to happen. Real example, already system in place which we have made and is not being talked about in Indian media because they don't care about it. So these are the direction. While fermions, another interesting case, things are going on, and this is the comparison. That a human brain, 1 millisecond spike. Sorry. In silicon neuromorphics, even if you achieved, which we have achieved in Lohi, you have 1 microsecond. And now, how much? 1 picosecond, millionth part of 1 microsecond. So whatever we have achieved is very tiny. जैसा आप जानते हैं कि when you compare yourself with Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg, आपको क्या पता चलता है कि आपकी जायदाद कहलाने के लायक भी नहीं, क्योंकि जब अगर उनकी जायदाद और एसेट्स और कैपिटल को आप देखते हैं तो then you understand that you don't have anything comparable. So similarly, that level is here. I am giving you the figure. These are the correct from the research papers have been collected. So everything has reference. You can verify it. So tremendous improvement on the brain by using Weil fermion hydron. And if you have not heard, and if CDEC is also not paying attention to Weil fermion, I will ask Joint Director to initiate a training program in FDP on Weil fermion neuroforming, and I would be happy to be the first speaker, because being first speaker is always good, because so that's there. So I can speak on for long, and many things I can share, because I have also worked on Weil fermions also in physics perspective, not in computational perspective. Let me make it very clear. So I know. So while neuromorphics don't just mimic brains, they exploit the universe deepest symmetries to transcend them. The future belongs to Weil, and it can also change the space and time. Now the worry is that the technology is moving in direction that everything is happening in this universe, and this universe can be changed because of our technological breakthroughs. Learn about it. So from matter to machine, the birth of exotic AI is there. The AI which you are talking about would very early soon called tribal AI or childish AI or initial days AI or something like that, maybe having many sounding and good, but you have to learn that, because if you don't learn that, you cannot learn this also. I am quite sure about it. So if you believe in my experience, then you will tell that if you don't know that, you cannot learn further, because you know that what are the shortcomings, how we are addressing, what is so different here. So that is this thing. So exotic mind would be there, word will be changed by the exotic minds, and exotic mind may not be the individual mind. The next success story which Radhika Nagpal started believing few years back is that of that intelligence is not sufficient, it is the collective intelligence. When you use AI, you also are using collective intelligence. But in future, all such intelligence present everywhere in the world. And somebody has made a prediction that the universe is moving towards becoming more intelligent, and until each and everything become intelligent, it will not stop. And you know that by the technology, you know that your chair can be intelligent, because you can fit in a chair a computing device which can communicate with each other. Intelligence do require communication and so on. So IP equal to everything, pervasive computing, pervasive sensors, everything having internet presence, is being talked about. So the world would be globally changed by this. Follow the research work happening there. Quantum cognition, neuromorphic quantum AI is. These are the promises. Something wrong may also happen. That is we have done. But when we understand perfectly, so you know that the nuclear bomb was exploded. But before the explosion which took place, the entire experimentation was done by the scientists and was under the control. No mishap occurred to reach to that making of that nuclear bomb, because scientists by and large working for the science and research are better and good people. Now in more new exploration, what is happening, that other than the scientists, the other factors like the big tech firms which have become an autonomous system in themselves, and these are the dangerous firms. If we don't get rid of politically through any mechanism to them, then there will be many mishap, because they just see what my wife sees in economics, the profit, and what madam would teach you, that profit is the purpose of life. And that's why I say let philosophy eat AI. Profit is not the purpose of life. Then what is the purpose of life? Because that's question. Somebody says there is no purpose of life. But at least I am quite sure that profit cannot be purpose of life. The progress which India shall make, it should not be to become the richest country in the world. It should be by becoming, as Modi ji has said, Vishwa Guru in leadership, in teaching, in knowing, in showing the path. So that's submission here, and rest is AI has what I will explore. Every problem can be solved. Now just I am showing technologies are merging into each other. Now you have Sophia and behave with Sophia and behave with AI tools, because machines also have now right, and we subscribe to high-tech Zenism, which means that machine beings, sentient beings should be given same respect as human beings and things like that. So those are the things, everything would be changing fast. This is just I am quickly showing you, which you should go through. And the genetic engineering will be happening. Hachimoji DNA already, the human beings will be completely changed. This kind of human being, tribal human beings living in 2025 are not acceptable in the modern time, and therefore we have to become a first species which has engineered itself, called Homo habilis, and Elon Musk is already working on that. So remember, it's not simple thing. They are working on changing the human being entirely, redesigning human being. Even supercomputing power can be achieved in 1 centimeter cube. These are the human shortcomings which would be addressed by using these technologies. Pay your attentions to these shortcomings which are listed. Human Cognom project floated by Paul Allen. This is the reality, pervasive sensing. Computers will disappear very soon and would become integral part of either ourselves or the existence itself. So these are the issues which I have described in my PowerPoint presentation, and the change would be happening at much exponential rate, and that is a concern, because technology can develop at exponential rate. Human thinking, human idea, human brain cannot adapt to that change, and sustainability and adaptability is under the question. So many scientists like Hinton to everybody, Ray Kurzweil, is worried that in the coming 10-20 years either हम जन्नत बनाएंगे और हम नरक बनाएंगे, कुछ ना कुछ तो बनाएंगे, but it would depend upon how. So if we can keep pace, if we can change our rules, regulations, change our philosophy, change our way of working, then only. So just like that, I am again reminding you that when I was a student, only 15 years of study, but I changed it. Similarly, you have to change that as an employee. Even if you are a teacher, you are not a teacher for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years. You are a teacher for all the remaining time, and which may be 500 years or 5,000 years in coming future. So be that we will get integrated, human beings outdated, post-human emerging. And what is post-human? You may have learned engineering 2.0. We may not need any heart, and therefore there will be no dil ka rishta. And we may not be having any blood, so there will also not be no blood ka rishta. And we also ourselves become machines in a sense. It's a merger, a marriage between human beings and machine, which is going to happen. And this is also not a bakwas, it is something which is already going on in each of this direction. And that's why Nick Bostrom in 2003, and he has written in this book also, which you can read if you find. So this message is very important. After the FDP also and during the entire FDP, the AI does not hate you, nor does it love you. इस गलतफहमी में भी नहीं रहे कि चैट जीपीटी मुझे बहुत पसंद करती है और मेरा हर जवाब का क्वेश्चन का जवाब बहुत जल्दी दे देती है, भी नहीं देती है. तो you would like chat GPT more in comparison to your spouse, because spouse takes time in responding. Chat GPT is instantly responding to your queries, however idiotic those may be, but it is responding. So we may get an attachment as picturized in Her, the movie, Hollywood movie. You can watch Her. So this particular threat, man may fall in love with machine rather than another fellow human being, because the machine may be more kind, may be more caring, may be more responsive, and things like that. But made out of atoms which it can use for something else. It can transform you. It can change the universe. It can do many such things. This has been said. So there are 6 different possibilities which have been highlighted. I will not speak, but these are the space facilities. I have taken the liberty, being Vice Chancellor, and moved away from the major theme of the FDP program. But this is just to make that FDP is the first step, a little step in the path which you will have to follow. A lot more to be done. At the same time, my intention was not to frighten you. कुछ सारे लोग डर जाते हैं, इसलिए लोग मुझे पसंद नहीं करते. मैं मानता हूँ एक तो शक्ल में हो सकता है कि लोगों को पसंद नहीं आती हो, दूसरा ये है कि इसके बाद डर लगता है कि कहाँ FDP अटेंड कर ली, अब दिमाग ख़राब हो गया. ये सारा जो हमारा पक्का विश्वास था कि ज़िंदगी एश्योर्ड है, तो शिवम may be thinking कि his life would be very beautiful for many years, and then he find that he has to do lot of work, because it is not so. But that was not the purpose. The purpose is that you can't ignore the reality, and you are part of the reality, and reality, whatsoever shapes the reality shall be important. This is very most important paragraph to conclude, that technology is not the problem. Greed, racism, class inequality, poverty, gender oppression, authoritarianism, fear and superstitions are the problems. So identify who are your enemy. AI is not your enemy. AI may be your friend, but anyone practicing this is not your friend. Any of this thing, remember. That's what scientists are saying. So systematic research should be put in to understanding this. Thank you. And finally, to console you, that the great philosopher Charvaka has said, Yavat jivet sukham jivet ranam katva ghatam pivet भस्मी भूतस्य देहस्य पुनरागमन कृत. आपके मृत्यु हो जाने के बाद वापस आपका स्वर्ग मिलेगा, नरक मिलेगा, ये कोई सुनिश्चित नहीं है. चारवाक कहते हैं ना आप वापस आएंगे, इसलिए जब तक जिए खुश हो के जिए. बट ये खुशी आप परिभाषित करेंगे. तो लेट दिस हैप्पीनेस बी द हैप्पीनेस ऑफ एक्सप्लोरेशन. सो दिस विल कंसोल यू कि कुछ भी हो जाए मुझे क्या फ़र्क पड़ता है. मैं तो इसके बाद चाय पीऊँगा तो चाय पीऊँगा, इसके बाद ये करूँगा तो ये करूँगा. यावत जीवेत सुखम जीवेत. द ग्रेटेस्ट फिलोसोफर ऑफ ऑल टाइम and maybe the very first few, the Charvak in India has said this. Be happy, enjoy this FDP and everything in your life. Thank you very much. And sorry for exceeding the time limit. I can't